Okay. Hey there, little mama. There comes a time in your life where you have to look at yourself and say, how good am I at a relationship, anyways? You may be thinking that right now. You may be in a really hard relationship, no matter who it's with. Relationships are not a natural talent, it's a skill, and you can learn it, and you can learn to be better at it. Recently I had a conversation with a friend on the phone, and I was in a real big hurry because um, I was doing a bunch of stuff, but I really wanted to take her phone call, but it could only be 10 minutes, but I knew she really needed longer. And so I was kind of short because I was in a hurry and I was kind of frustrated that I even took the call, like one of those kind of things. And when I got off the phone, I texted her and I said, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have taken that call. Um, but I'm always so excited when I see your name come up on my phone, and I always know it's going to be a good conversation, but I probably should have waited. Let's talk again tomorrow. So I'm so sorry I was short. And immediately I knew that she was going to be fine with it because we've developed a relationship where we truly know one another. But you know what? I learned how to repair relationships. And today's guest is going to talk to us even more. And I'm going to learn even more. And you're going to learn even more as we talk to my friend, Billie Jauss, in just 1 minute. Stay tuned. Welcome to the Moms Like Us podcast, where moms just like you learn strategies, systems, and skills through expert interviews and real-life insight designed to take your marriage, mothering, and home to the expert level. Hi, I'm Mona Corwin, your mom mentor and host, author, international speaker, and the founder of the Moms Like Us Academy. I've been coaching moms for over 25 years, and I have some really good news for you. Motherhood isn't a natural talent. It's a skill, and you can learn it. You can crush it at motherhood instead of motherhood crushing you. So let's get to today's show. Okay, we are talking relationships. And like I said, we're talking to my friend Billie. And Billie is the wife of a major league baseball player. When I met Billie, I thought, this is the coolest thing ever. And what I found out was Billie was just as regular as could be, and so was her husband. When we get into relationships with people and they have the ability to have good communication, you can find out about them quickly. And that's how it was with Billie and I. Billie knows how to have good relationships. She's been doing this for over 35 years, and she's written several books, and I encourage you to get them all. However, her new one I'm especially excited about. It's called Baseball Family, and it is the 9 core, I'm going to read it exactly, the 9 core qualities for developing healthy relationships. Billie is qualified for this, not just because she is a really good in relationships, but she's seen a lot. Because, in baseball, like in life in lots of different arenas, you don't always get to pick who you have to have a relationship with. Billie's going to help us with that. And I'm super excited to invite my friend Billie Jauss up to our Moms Like Us Do Things Like This. So come on up, Miss Billie. I'm going to bring you up on the right side. There she is. Hi, cutie.
Hello, honey. How are ya?
I'm so good. We were talking before this this interview, and girls, I just want you to know we talked for 30 minutes before we got here
Or
because this is
45, maybe.
maybe even longer because this is a really important issue, and so I want to encourage you to just um, put in a little extra attention into what you're going to hear today as we listen to Billie and her 9 uh, core qualities
Qualities.
because
Yep.
they're going to be good. Okay, Billie, tell us some more. Fill the girls in on all your.
Oh, gosh.
Her life is so cool. You're going to really enjoy talking to Billie.
Yeah, we're in our 37th professional baseball season. My husband now is a senior advisor for the Washington Nationals. We've done every level of baseball from Dominican winter ball through the minor leagues, in the major leagues, all of it. I have been around. The funny story is when we talk about relationships is when I started out in baseball, I was the age of the wives and girlfriends. And we've been in 37 years now. The wives and girlfriends are still the same age. I've just gotten 37 years older because wives and girlfriends are 22 to 32 years old. And they just phase out and new ones come in. And it's just the same old, same old. But yeah, so we've been in 37 years, and I prayed every day that none of my kids would be in baseball. And all three of my boys work in some fashion of baseball.
It makes sense that you write a book called Baseball Family, right?
Yeah, we're pretty committed as a baseball family. Pretty sure that that's for sure that we are, and I'm pretty sure it's partly my fault because I really do like baseball. I enjoy baseball, so it's sort of just who we are and what we do.
Yeah, I love baseball too. But you do more than just talk to these moms because you love Jesus. So tell us
Yes.
about your mission in baseball.
Yeah, when David and I really started looking at baseball, we had had a hard time in our marriage, came back together, recommitted our lives to Christ, and we knew that baseball was more than just a job or a career chaser or fame and fortune chasing, that it really was the mission field that God had called us into. So we began to look at baseball as our mission field, where God has placed us, where He's put us, and who He's putting in front of us. That became our mission field. So not only, are we, well, I'm going to say I was a little disappointed. I wanted to go where little kids needed shoes and food and Jesus, and I got baseball, which I was confused at it before. How can this be a mission field? But as I really paused and looked at where God had us and all the people that we come in contact with, that was when I began to really focus on what God wanted me to do wherever He placed me.
Yeah, and you really are. And I know that you just got back from a mission trip to the DR.
Yeah, I went to the Dominican Republic. This is a funny trip. So, me, an older female now that I have adult children, well, I was asked to go on a mission trip with 33 high school baseball players and seven of their coaches. I was the only woman on the trip. So I was sort of like the mom, but it was also weird because boys were sort of weirded out that there's this old lady with us. What's she doing here? Kind of thing. And they weren't rude or anything, but you know how they just sort of keep separated, and sort of what I talk about in relationships, that sometimes you just meet somebody in passing but you need to love on them anyway. But anyway, went with these kids, and in the morning they would play baseball games, and in the afternoon we would go into bateys, very, very poor areas in the Dominican Republic, and we would go into a church and hear about the church and what they were doing in their communities. And in those churches, it was very specific that I chose those churches. They have baseball teams that they use as an after school program, because you can say to kids, "Oh, come to our church. We'll feed you. We'll spend some time with you. We'll help you with homework, whatever." But when you say to a group of Dominican boys, "Come to our church. We're going to play baseball." You've got 100 boys
Wow.
instead of like 10 or 20. So they have baseball leagues within the churches. And so we picked those churches, and we went out on the field with these kids and played baseball with them. At one point I looked and I'm like, are we doing a horse race or playing baseball? Because the kids would jump on the baseball players' backs and
Oh,
like riding horses, and they'd be running around the bases during the game that we were playing. But it
oh,
was just such a beautiful thing to see these kids that went down there to play baseball, to see that they could experience how God is working in these very poorest of communities. They can see how much these pastors and the people working within the churches love Jesus, and how important it is for them to bring people to their church to teach them about Jesus. And then to see the poorest of the poor giving praises and glory to God for what they have, when to us, it's not that much. And so, my goal whenever I take anyone on some sort of mission trip or go with them on a mission trip is I really pray that the Lord would show them what breaks His heart,
mm,
and that their heart would be broken for the things that breaks God's heart. And that's not always poverty when it comes to finances and housing. It really is poverty in spirit. And one of the boys that came up to me during the trip, we were at a bate and we were out on a baseball field, and he came up to me and he said, Miss Billie, I didn't want to come on this trip. He said, I did not want to come. I didn't want to leave the comfort of my house to go to a country I knew nothing about with a bunch of poor people that I didn't want to deal with. He said, and now I look and see how they're praising God for what they have. And I was selfish in what I had. He said, I'll never be the same again now that I see how much they love God with how little they have. And I'm like, cha-ching, right there. That's what we want. We want people to see the work that God's doing in the hearts of people, not just how we can write a check or give a gift or buy shoes or give clothes. It's like, how can we touch the lives of these people through showing them more about Jesus?
Well, that's one of the reasons why I think your book is special. It's not special because what's in it, it's because who wrote it. Because
Well, thank you.
the way your perspective is on life in general and how you've been to the very tops of fame and fortune and all that, but yet you see things from a beautiful point of view, which is Jesus' point of view. And that's why I was intrigued to read your book. You're just not another person that has written it. You are qualified to write this. And not only that, Billie is a really good mom. And if you're in the Moms Like Us Academy, she's going to be talking to our moms for a special training for moms. And it is a special thing to be able to teach your kids to be humble and to love God and to see people for who they are.
Yeah.
And so if you're in the Moms Like Us Academy, don't miss Billie's class. But Billie, let's talk about this for our listeners today about the book.
Okay.
What do you want to say? Why you wrote it? Where do you want to
Yeah,
start?
I wrote it because I don't write books unless I've lived it. Like if
Mm.
I'm not going to write a book just because I think it's a quote unquote need for people to read. I really feel like the Lord drags me kicking and screaming sometimes
I know
through
the feeling.
through experiences to be able to get to a point where I do have, and that word authority sometimes, oh, I have authority. No, it's more of, y'all, I've been in the mud. I've been drugged through the mud. I've wrestled in the mud. And I've come out on the other side showered and clean, and that's only because of Jesus. And this started with a hurtful relationship that ended, and I really wanted to look into it and see what I had done wrong and how I could be a better person. And there were some things that I had not done wrong, and there was nothing better I could have done. But I really wanted to look at it from Jesus' perspective of how could I have been better in this situation. And that's what took me into a deep study just of how do we love others? How do I love others? And what is God calling us to do and be in loving others? And, Jesus tells us to love one another. Love as I have loved you. Love your neighbor as yourself. He tells us, he doesn't say you get to pick and choose who you love. Only choose the people that look like you, speak like you, act like you, believe like you, live like you. No, that's not what God says. Jesus says, let's go to the well and meet the Samaritan woman.
Mm.
Let's go to the leper and heal. Let's go to the woman that was being stoned. Let's allow the woman who's bleeding come to us. And so that's where it started. And when I started looking at it, I'm like, Lord, I don't know. Like, I don't know how to grow in relationships. I felt very abandoned and very hurt in that relationship that ended. That person that I thought would go to war for me if I needed her. And that's not the way it worked out. And I felt very abandoned and very lonely and very isolated. And the Lord, as I was praying about it, the Lord's like, girl, you've had harder relationships in baseball. Baseball has been a place that's taught you how to love others no matter what. And one of the days it was like the Lord came to me and just my spirit just soaked it in of, you're to love the one I put in front of you wherever I place you.
Mm.
You're not just to love because you want to. You're to love because I'm commanding you to. John 13:34. For he has commanded us. He hasn't just asked us, he hasn't just told us, he has commanded us to love. And so, in that, that's where baseball family came from. That how did I create a family in baseball with the motley crew of girls, including myself, that have to sit in the stands together because we don't get to choose who we're around. The team chooses who we're going to be around. We have no say. And then we're sitting in the stands with these women, 162 games a year. I almost got that messed up.
Wow.
162 games a year, 81 home games. So some of them you're not even going to see that much. You may see them at 10, 15 games because they travel in and out. We've got people from all over the globe, Korean, Japanese, um, South American, Caribbean, we've got people from everywhere, Canada, United States. It's like we have people from everywhere. We have different languages. We have different beliefs. We have different attitudes because some of them mamas come in there, they got some major attitude coming in that the world revolves around them and I'm the most important thing that's ever happened. Or I'm the only one that's ever experienced this. Y'all just need to step aside because I'm in a hurt moment right now and you don't understand when we've all been there and done that, right? So we have all these different personalities. I made a joke. I was speaking in spring training at a spring women's event just to baseball wives and girlfriends. And I said, y'all, we end up in the stands with the wife that's been around for 37 years or the girl that some guy met last night at a bar. Like, this is the spectrum.
Yeah,
And the
right.
room exploded
With
because
laughter.
we've all been there and done that. We've been there and done that where, it might just be somebody we see one time. And so that's how the book started. And then as I started putting myself together and the Lord had given me this baseball family analogy to look at as to how you build healthy relationships, doesn't mean that you got to give them everything. It doesn't mean you need to be their best friend all the time. It sort of came out as these 4 relationships that we encounter every day. The accidental acquaintance, the one that you just meet in passing. For me, that's the Uber driver, the person sitting next to me on the plane or in the terminal, somebody that I sit next to at the ball game that I may never see again. And then we move into our social circle. And that's a group of wives for me within any team. That's my social circle. Or if you're not in baseball, your Bible study, your mom's group, your mom's day out group, the parents that are with your kids in homeschool co-op or at school, the parents on the team your kids playing in. That's your social circle. But then the next relationship is the one where you're like, hey, I like you. Sort of like me and you, Mona. We were in a social circle of some writers and speakers, and we're sitting at a table, and I'm like, I like that girl. I'm going to stay in touch with her. There were a bunch of other people at the table that I didn't stay in touch with, but that's that kindred spirit. That person that you're like, I really like them. I want to get to know them better. And you begin to ask more questions and dig deeper into their lives, spend more time with them, you share your faith more in a trusting way. And then the last of the 4 relationships is your forever family. And the way that I talk about forever family is that's a person that's going to go to war for you and pray for you when you don't even know you're in the middle of a war. You don't even know that your life is crumbling as much as they see something's happening and they're going to come and have it. They're the ones you call in the middle of the night and they drop everything to come to your rescue one way or another. That's your forever family. So in those 4 relationships are the people that we encounter every day. You probably encountered some today. You went to the grocery store. There was another lady that was coming at you with a cart, and you're like, "Oh, sorry, I didn't even see you," because I get in that, that tunnel vision at the grocery store looking for what I'm looking for and forget there are other people around. That's an encounter. And in the book, I talk about in each of these encounters, we are commanded to love. And it's a different level, it's a different way, it's a different experience for each of the four friendships. But in those nine core qualities, we're called to love each of those four friendships with those nine core qualities.
So what and we're not going to go through all 9 cores because I want you to get the book and really read it cuz her stories are really well written and you'll learn and enjoy the read also.
Yeah.
But what are your favorite ones that would be the ones you would just not want a listener to miss in this conversation?
I mean, generous is probably my first one. I'm a
Mhm.
giver, and I don't mean giver of things and money and items, but I'm a giver of joy and
Mm.
love and interaction and eye to eye contact. Generous with a smile, generous with opening a door. It's more about being generous in action. It's when I describe generous in the book, I talk about giving more affection and tenderness than is necessary.
Wow.
So, in that generosity, I think of those sandpaper people. Do you know what sandpaper people are? Those are those people that grind on your ever living last
Yeah.
nerve,
Mhm.
you know? And for some reason, that seems to be the wife or girlfriend that sits with me at the stadium. So I have girls that I'm really, really close with that are like, I don't sit with you because you have the hard people sitting next to you.
On the other side.
So that's
Because
just because
those people can feel your generosity and your tenderness.
I look at them in the eye
I was just gonna say,
and
it's when you
I
look at them in
don't.
the eye.
Yeah, I look at and I listen. And I listen when they drop their F-bombs and their degradation of whatever, and I gently guide them to a safer place. I'm not gonna
Do you think that
condemn them.
when you gently guide I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No, no,
I
you're fine.
love the Titus 2 part of your life, and that's
Yeah,
not really in your book, but because
no.
we're moms like us and we
Yeah,
have Titus 2 and you're kind of like a Titus 2, especially in this next class you're gonna do. But I love the fact that God has placed a Titus 2 for the sandpapers and for the one night stands, as
yeah.
well as the devoted wives that are trying to do it
Oh, yeah.
right.
Yeah,
And I think that is so important for us as women to realize that the influence that we carry, no matter how old we are, and the people that are
yeah,
around us. I think the biggest thing that I agreed with in that section was looking at people in the eyes. I've met recently, I met a really important person, and I was absolutely so impressed that their eye did not move from me
yeah,
when they were talking to me. And
yeah.
I thought, man, I'm going to make sure that I do that.
Yeah.
And
Even if it's for a split second, right?
yeah,
Like, even if it's an accidental acquaintance at the grocery store,
yeah.
and I'm saying that because I went to the grocery store and did it this morning, but I'm trying to rush to get the things I need to get, but so I can get out because I have so much to do and I'm rushing, 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 and I don't even have kids at home anymore. But it's like I'm rushing to do, and I almost ran into a lady, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And in that moment, I thought to myself, be generous. And I looked at her and I looked her in the eye and I go, isn't it funny how we can just get so rushed and not take time to realize there's another human? I really apologize for almost running you over. And she got a little misty and she just looked at me and said, thank you for noticing that I was here. And
Wow.
it's like, I've never seen that woman in the grocery store before. I live in Southwest Florida, so we have a lot of tourists that come in and out, and we have a lot of people that don't live here very long. They'll come for a month or so. So you don't always run into the same people at the grocery store. But in that moment, you can give them an act of generosity by just saying, I see you, or making them feel like, I see you.
Mm.
I know you're here. I know you exist. And as a Titus 2 woman, I say to people often in my group of girls over these 37 years of baseball, sometimes I may be older than some of the women that are sitting next to me, but sometimes they teach me more than I teach them. So
Yeah.
we
I love
always
that.
have to be open and generous with the wanting to learn, with that spirit, an open spirit of learning. I want to learn from people. But if they're saying something that's not too learned or not too good, I want to gently guide them to the right place.
Yeah.
If you're going to talk about one of the girls in the stands to me, you may start that, but I'm going to gently say, I really like her. I give her every chance that I can to be a kind person, and I'm going to give you every chance to be a kind person too. Like, I don't pick sides. I don't, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gentle guidance back. But I think in the Titus too, sometimes it doesn't relate to age. And we have
No,
to, as older women, be open in our spirits for what younger girls and younger women. I call everybody a girl. I call you a girl, Mona. I'm
I
like
know.
about the girls. So no disrespect to anybody. Everybody's a girl to me. My girls. It doesn't have to do with age.
Right.
It really is about what can we learn from one another. How can we show each other Jesus?
And what, tell us another one. I know we're going over,
Another
but
one,
yeah.
with generosity, I think the compassion part is so big
Mm,
because showing compassion, the way that I explain compassion is showing sympathy toward another's distress while having the desire to alleviate their pain.
mm, yeah.
Showing sympathy, empathy towards someone's distress, but also having that desire to want to take that pain away from them,
Wow.
to
Sounds like
live
a
in it.
mother.
It is. It is.
I respect that.
As I'm helping my middle son figure out how to buy a car after he got hit head on in a collision not long ago. That mother heart of, and that's a whole nother podcast of being a mom of adults. You still want to go in and rescue them.
Yeah,
You want
you
to do
do.
everything. But it's having that compassion that I want to feel the pain you're feeling and I want to alleviate it for you, but I also want to show you compassion in where are you inviting me into helping you with that? And so
What surprised you the most as God took you through this journey as you were watching all of this? Like, what surprised you the most as he was kind of mending your heart through this process? Because this is what is all about, this whole
the four
process.
relationships, I didn't have to be everybody's best friend, and I
Oh, wow.
can't trust everyone at the level
Of the
that
trust.
I tend to want to trust everyone.
Mm. I can
Um,
see
I
how
don't,
you would do that too,
yeah,
just
I
because
don't
of
want to
who
be
you
as
are.
vulnerable with an accidental acquaintance as I do with a forever friend, forever family.
And is that because they don't they don't have, I mean, not that they aren't worthy of it, it's that they don't have the background, they don't have the time, they're not invested in you, and it's just not
Yeah.
appropriate for that particular, doesn't mean they won't be those other things,
And I think
but
it's about us too. Sometimes, as a mom, when my kids were little, I just needed adult contact so much, I would just vomit on
mm,
people.
yeah,
And then I'd expect them to want to trust and love me and be as vulnerable with me. And they were shell shocked.
they're like, I
So
don't even know you.
yeah, I don't even know you, and you just told me that you're having problems in your marriage, or your kid vomited on you yesterday. It's like, but going through this, it gave me a freedom to not have expectations on people that I really shouldn't have those expectations on.
Mm,
My social circle is not going to come to me in the middle of the night if I'm having issues
mm,
with a plumbing problem. My kindred spirit and my forever family might. If my husband's not home, my husband travels a lot. If my husband's not home and I have a plumbing problem, somebody in my social circle is not going to drop everything to come and help me with the plumbing problem. And then if I call somebody in my social circle and say, hey, it's 3 a.m., can you help me with the plumbing problem? They might be like, have you lost your mind? I'm going back to sleep. Where if I expect them to do what a kindred spirit or a forever family would, I'm disappointed and angry and bitter towards them when it's not what our relationship is defined as.
wow, I love that.
It's
I love
not
that.
our connection, our closeness.
Hmm.
I've had wives that I've gone to the hospital with to have a baby. They're going into labor when dad's on the road and they don't have anybody to take them. It's usually pre-planned that I know it's going to happen. But there's been a few times where somebody just calls me and says, I don't have anybody to go with me. I'm going early. I don't know you very well, but I've heard you do this. Will you just go with me to the hospital? And I'll drop everything and do it
Right.
because of that compassion, that generosity. Now, they may never call me again or ask me for anything else, But understanding those relationships, that might just be a social circle relationship that they ask me to do those things, but they don't want to be my best friend. And I don't have to be their best friend.
That's
There are
awesome.
boundaries on each of these relationships that we can and will have. One of our pastors' wives, at a former church we were at when we lived in a different city, she was one of the best at those boundaries on different relationships. And I didn't realize it until I started going through putting this together for the book, because I was thinking of examples of people. Because when I laid it out for myself, boy, it was like, world off my shoulders, that I don't have to be everything for everybody, right? I don't have to be best friends with everybody. I don't have to carry burdens of everybody. I can listen, I can love, but at different levels, right? And
Yeah.
this pastor's wife, I look back and I thought she was so good. She and I had such a tight relationship. We were best friends. Like, we were forever family. And in that season, when we first were getting closer and closer, because she started out accidental acquaintance, I met her at a little league baseball field. Over time, she invited me into a Bible study. We became social circle. In that Bible study, we realized how close we were getting. We became kindred spirits. And then over a few years, it was forever family. But as our relationship was growing, as our relationship was mulling into a deeper type of connection, I would go to church, and not that she would ignore me, but she'd spend way more time with other people at church. And I was like offended. Aren't you my friend? Why, I want to have lunch this week. Why can't we schedule lunch at church? And finally, she said to me, Billie, you're the person I talk to all week. Some of those people I only see at church, and I'm going to give them every piece of my attention that I can. We'll get together later on the week. Call me on Monday. We'll schedule lunch. And I thought, how respectful is that? How awesome in being the type of person that understands when you're making those connections, how deep you're making those connections, and what that deepness looks like.
Mm-hmm.
You've got your people
Mm-hmm.
at church, that the new people that come to church, and you're like, hey, welcome to church. So glad you're here. You may never see them again. If you're on a baseball team, or a soccer team, or a cheer team, and a mom comes in, but that person, the kid, isn't playing on that team often, and you only see them once or twice, you don't treat them the same way that you are the person that you call to say, hey, I'm running late. Can you pick up my kid from the same team your kid's on? Because I'm not going to make it because I'm at this other field and I can't make it to that one. That's your kindred spirit forever family,
Mm-hmm.
right? That you can
Right.
call on in those circumstances. So
Or
for
they
me,
immediately become that when they're like, if you need me to, then they start
exact,
creeping over to the, then
exactly.
you know. Okay, so like what is the thing that you would want to tell our moms in regards to these core and just I mean the four things are so good and then the core qualities. There's just something to learn. You want to say, "Oh, this is yeah, I get this." But when you read it in the book, it's like, "Whoa, this is the understanding that you give is so great." What would you
Yeah.
say in
My
closing?
biggest thing is you can have a healthy relationship even with the sandpaper people.
Oh, wow.
You can.
Yeah.
You can have a healthy relationship because it's your responsibility. When you realize the expectations you put on other people is more about what you need from them, um, you can turn it around and look at it, and really work on yourself and focus on what God's asking you to do. He commands us to love others as He has loved us, so that when they see you loving that way, they know you are a disciple of Christ.
Yeah.
So in this book, I say, if I could help one person love more and hate less. And when I use that word hate, I don't mean like, oh, I hate you, but that divisiveness, that removal from, that avoidance of. If I can help people love on others, even in the most chaotic of times, even in the most chaotic of connections, that's what I believe this book is all about, is how has God called us to love on others. And in those four relationships, we can utilize those 9 core qualities for each of those relationships.
Wow. That is so good. Billy, you're a treasure. We are
You're a
kindred
treasure.
spirits.
Yes. Yes.
You both wore blue too,
I know. I noticed that earlier.
except my Rangers beat you guys.
I know. I
But there
know.
is always this year.
Oh, yes.
Neither one of us are very competitive, so
No.
we're just teasing. Anyways, thank you so much for being here. Moms,
Thank
I want
you.
to encourage you to get Billie's book because we can always get better at our relationships. Thank you. Mine didn't come in the mail. I
I
was on,
know.
it just came out yesterday and I got to preview read it. I was on her launch team and, but I don't have the actual book to show you, but you're going to love it. And the cover is so pretty too. And the
Thank you.
bookmarker you get is really cool. Show them the bookmark. Is that cool?
It's a
That is so cool.
ticket. We don't get tickets in baseball anymore, so that's it. I made a ticket for the bookmark.
Yeah.
And if
You
you'd
have to
like one, I'm
understand.
trying to get it in the mirror, in the camera
Back
here.
it
There
up.
we go.
Back it up. Yeah.
There you
Well,
go.
you got to know. I'm really proud of
There
my
we go.
friend that she did that.
It's good stuff.
Anyways, thank you so much. And y'all remember, moms like us do things like this. We not only learn how to parent well and be good wives, but we learn how to be good friends and we learn how to do new things. And the new things are looking at people the way Jesus would, because we're not going to know how to do that automatically in our selfish, sinful selves. So this book is really going to help you. And that's it. I'll see you next time on Moms Like Us Do Things Like This. And when we do, I want you to be there. Bye for now. Hi, I hope you liked this episode of the Moms Like Us show. And if you did, I hope that you'll share it. You'll share it with another mom friend because moms like us do things like this. I also hope that you will check out the Moms Like Us Academy, where we take ideas like we've been talking about on the show, but we go deeper. We just don't get inspired and think, ooh, that's a really good idea. I think I want to try that. We actually learn how to do these things and why we need to. And then you know what? You have Mona, the mom mentor, and other master moms that teach the master classes in there. They come alongside and we help you implement and really truly change your mom life into the mom life you've always wanted to have, because motherhood isn't a natural talent. It's a skill, sweetie, and you can learn it. So go and check out the Moms Like Us Academy today and find me when you get there and say hi.